I am Nidhi and I hope my screen is visible. Okay, thank you, Pooja. So today I am going to talk about the introduction to OPA. So what OPA is, why we need OPA and how exactly OPA works. So let's first come to the first point. What is OPA? So OPA is my open policy agent, and this open policy agent is what it does, or what it means is like it gives you ability to decouple or offload the policy decision making from the policy enforcement. So let's take an example. Whenever we are making any API request and whenever we have to make decisions, those decisions need to be based on some rules. That rules are very organization specific. So what OPA does it, by using those rules, OPA will evaluate and OPA will give you the query, and it will offload that decision making process to itself to a dedicated engine, so that the service don't have to take care about it. The service in its code doesn't have to validate whether this user have the authentication authorization to connect to that resource or not. So my OPA is basically gives you an ability to offload the decision making process from policy enforcement to a dedicated engine, that is my OPA only. And it is a domain agnostic general purpose agent. Why I'm saying domain agnostic and general purpose agent, because it basically works and integrates with anything at any language, be it Java, be it Python, be it Ruby, or be it any other language. And it can work with any domain. You don't actually need a domain to make it workable, or you to understand it. It can work with your blockchain platform. It can also work with your Ruby uh, uh, application. It can also run with your Spring Boot application or Terraform application, with anything. So the goal of this OPA is to unify the policy enforcement. For every layer of service, for every layer of your stack, you don't actually have to worry about those policies. OPA will worry about it. It will unify all of those policies and will take decisions on top of it. So let's try to understand it with an example. So let us take this dummy architecture of Netflix, and over here we have two personas. One is my customer and one is my support person. This customer will access to four different services. My web portal. This web portal will get linked to my payments, to my notification service, and to my account service. Payment service is responsible for showing all the information about the payments, when the customer did the payment, what amount customer paid, at what interval he's paying, all of these information. My notification will send the notification through my AWS SRS if any of the new web series comes and it matches the interest of my customer. And then there is the account service. This account service will hold all of the information in Elasticsearch about my customer. What is my customer name? What is his email address? What is phone number? And what is the mode of card that he is using, the payment mode he is using, and his exact location or region, all of the customer information. Now this support over here is my customer service representative. That is, if customer reports that he's facing some problems, they will open a ticket and one support person will be assigned to it. He or she will debug all the issues that my customer is facing. But now this customer have all the access to all the services, the data inside my payments, the data inside my accounts. That means whosoever person is part of that organization, in this case Netflix, have access to go to any of the service and access their data, which is not a right practice in terms of security as well. So what we'll do, in order to implement this, my organization enforced a policy. The policy states my support staff can only view account info of the user if they're assigned to an open ticket, otherwise cannot. So in that case, to implement this policy, what we have done is, for each and every service, for each and every portal, we have written an implementation code to provide this authentication. Now I have to maintain that code. I have to implement that code to check whether this user, whether the support person have access or not, if they're assigned to that customer or not. So this approach to me looks very good, but this comes with number of questions. These questions are, what if the AppSec compliance comes into the picture and he or she says like, we cannot access my application if I am in certain region, or if I am in after certain time, and can only application, if I'm a support person, can only access the application if I am using a certain device through a MAC address. So how I'm going to enforce it? Let's say my customer wants to have control over his data. So his data is stored into all of the services, across all the services. It's stored across the payment, like what is the payment account, what is his information about the notification, what he have received. So it's like, if we have to delegate this control to the end user, we have to change each and every piece of code over here. And how we are going to do it? What if I have introduced new policies? That means like I have introduced few more roles, few more permission to those roles, or I have removed few of the rules as we do not need in our organization. So how actually I'm going to roll out those policy changes? What if some policies were wrong and they have been pushed to production? How I am going to roll back to those policy changes? Apart from these difficulties, apart from these questions, there are very fundamental questions that were raised. That is like, how are we going to test this policy changes? Like, I don't want to test my entire service. I just want to test my policies, whether they are correct or not, with some data. And let's take another thing, like if I have hundreds and thousands of services. Right now, I'm only talking about 3 services. But in the real case example, in the real scenarios, we have multiple services, can be 100 plus. How we are going to manage it? That means like the policies are going to remain same. If these policies, if not same, so some policies will be same, will be common, and we are replicating those policies. If we have to change per se one policy, we have to add new policy, we again have to add that rule to all the policies. The maintenance cost is literally increasing exponentially. So these are the basic questions come into the picture when we talk about implementing the own policies as a code in for every services. And that's why we need OPA. OPA will unify that, all the policies, and it is the responsibility of OPA now to make decisions whether my user should be allowed or the user should be denied to access that resource. It's no longer responsibility of my service. I don't have to hard code the changes into my service, or my service doesn't have to care about these policies. My OPA will take care about this. Now, if you can see, I have a engine over here. These engines interact with each and every service. And these services sends data, some attributes to the OPA, and OPA will evaluate into its internal mechanism, which we are going to talk about next, and then sends some data back to my services. If it is true, if the user is allowed, my service will give the respective pages for allowed and denied. So this is like why we need OPA and what exactly is OPA. Moving forward, let's understand how OPA works. I talked about service will send some data and OPA will work on it. OPA will make those decisions. So forget about all the architecture. Let's take a single service over here. We have a service and I want to make a request. I am a support person. The authorization token that I am using is my support, and I want to access an endpoint which says account/v1/customer. Now, my service will send few attributes to the OPA. So my service will, out of that request, will create some attributes, be it in the JSON format, be it in the YAML format. That is like, what is going to be my method? Is it get? And what is going to be my path? It is accounts v1 customer. And what is the user? Who is the user who wants to access to this service? These attributes were sent to OPA from my service. Now, what this OPA does is, my OPA will take these attributes and evaluates based on the policy and based on the data. So with OPA, the policy that is written in the Rego language. Rego is nothing but a policy language which OPA use. And there is a database. So this database have all the data about how many users I have in my application, how many employees I have in my organization, what all roles belongs to which employee, how many permissions I have, and which roles have what permission. These kind of data is stored in my database. And policy will have like whether the user should only be allowed his or her information, cannot see other informations. So these policies, and using this data, my OPA will evaluate. The decision that it will make is as simple, can be yes or no, can be true or false, can be allow or deny. These policy decisions then sent back to my service, and based on true will show you the page of the service, and if false will give you 401, that is unauthorized. So this is how at simple my OPA works. Let's try to like see in action, like through some demos. And through the demo, what we are using is like we have this application. I'm not, as OPA is domain agnostic, I'm not going to show you about my application, but I will be using a playground. This playground is provided by my OPA, and it can be accessed via internet by anyone. So in my playground, as you can see, as you can like recall from the previous slides, all I need is some data. So that data will be stored under this data section in the JSON format. It can be in, and all I need is few attributes like what is my method, what is my path, users, and different methods as different attributes as well. Depends on application to application, which gets stored over here. And then the policy, as I said, policy is written in Rego in case of OPA. So I can write my policy over here. Using the policy and using the data, my my OPA will generate few of the outputs. That is like whether it is allowed or not. So let's look at the first scenario. We want only a specific user to view their own accounts. If I have two users, my user A cannot access any profile of user B. So let me show you with what my data.json look like. So I have a database. In that database, I have like two users, user one and user two. I'll talk about this assignee in the second example, but let's stick with user one and user two. And I need to write few of my policies. So we need to create a file which have .rego as a name. So it is netflix.rego for me. The first line states that package Netflix. So package is basically making a group of all the policies, all the rules inside my Rego file. So all these rules you can see over here, these is under my package Netflix. In the third line, you can say import. So I want to import some external data, which is not present in my current package. So I want to import the data, which is present in my data.json. So what I'm going to do is data. After that, I had Netflix. So I called Netflix, and under that I had tickets. So now anything, if I want to use from that data.json, I can directly use tickets. I have declared a variable which is by the name called as allow, and the default value is assigned to be false. Like if something matches this or this, it will be true. By default, it will always be false. Now let's come and try to write few rules. This is my rule number 1, which talks about the user should access to only his account or her account. What I'm checking is my method should be get, and the path should be accounts and a username. So through input, I am giving a name of that user, which I am storing inside my input.path and with my username in under this variable. At the next line, what I will be checking is I am getting an attribute from my input saying that there is a user under the subjects who wants to access, the user who wants to access the resource. If that user is not equals to this username, in that case, do not allow him. If it is the same user, then allow it. So let me just copy paste this section and copy it over here. Let me also put the data over here, sorry. And where is the input that I want to send? My method is get. I need to send some path to an API, which is my accounts in user one, and under the subject, which user want to access it. So right now, my user one wants to access my endpoint for user one. So if I try to evaluate it, you can see my allow is now done to true. I have set my coverage to tick. That's why you can see this is the rule that it used to set my value of allow to true. And this was not used. That's why it is red in color. Let's try to change it. Let's try to make it user two. User two wants to access the account of user one. If I try to evaluate it, sorry, I have selected it. That's why it is giving you this error. While evaluating it, you can see the allow is false because my user two wants to access the user one. In the database also, you can see there are two other users, which is my Nidhi and Arnav. And if I try to set anything for Nidhi, you can see I still cannot access this endpoint. Why? Because see, I am a support person, might be a support person, but I can also log in into an application as a customer. So right now, this Nidhi is just a customer who wants to access another customer's account. So he or she shouldn't get the access to access this endpoint. So this is how we manage to make user access his profile only. The second example talks about that support person can view only the user's account if they are assigned to an open account of that customer. So I have user one, going back to the data.json, I have user one. There is an open ticket for user one, and the assignee is Nidhi, and there is another assignee which is Arnav. And there is a user two, and the assignee is Nidhi. So the Nidhi should only be able to access user one if there is an open ticket. So this over here, the rule over here won't work. I need to write another rule which says that that person should be support person and he or she should be assigned as assignee for that ticket. So I've written another rule which says like the allow should be true if my method is get. Again, taking paths from here and setting username to whatever we have passed from my attributes. And now I'm checking the condition over here. Inside my subject, over here, my subject, the user, whatever I'm getting, going back to my data inside my tickets, under this username, I need to check whatever value is there. I'm getting two values, assignee Nidhi and assignee Arnav. In that case, this assignee should be equal to whatever I'm passing it from the input. If it is not the case, let's say I'm passing some random number XYZ, in that case, it should not be given an access. And second thing, because I want to make sure I'm not logging it as another customer, but as a support person, I am checking one more value. That is, my group should be customer service. I should be a support person. So let me just copy paste this as well and try to access it. You can see it's still coming out to be false. It tried to access it, but it is not setting it the value false because I have not provided my subject to be, the subject is already there. My groups to be, and as this is an array, okay, so this is a JSON, so I have to select this, put an array, and you can see I am now allowed to access the endpoint because I have logged in as a support person. So you can see for the user one, Nidhi and Arnav both are assignee, but for the user two, only Nidhi is assignee. So let me change it to the Arnav, and also let me change the user for which he wants to access. Now you can see the allow is set to false because Arnav is not assignee for that open ticket for user two, hence he doesn't have any permission to access the endpoint. So this is how basic example of OPA you can use in order to restrict your user based on the rules provided by your organization. So there are several use cases of OPA. Let's talk about few of the use cases. There are few other use cases that are there in the market, and we are not currently going to talk about it, but you can always go back and look into it. So the first use case that I'm going to talk about is my RBAC. So what is RBAC? For people who doesn't know what RBAC is, RBAC is basically an authorization mechanism which will allow a user to access the resources based on the role. So I have, let's say, two users, user one and user two. They have been given two different roles based on the organization. So let's say they have two roles, customer service and customer. Now the permission given to that customer is not with the name but with the role. If it is a customer, it should have a get permission on accounts, on payments and notification. If it is a support, it should only have permission on my accounts. So authentic authorization is now switched to role and not to the name of the person. So in that case, let's try to see if we have an admin, and that admin can perform any action on any service. So if I go back to my data.json, now I have introduced few more data into my database. I have open tickets over here, and this is same that we have seen previously. We have new users now. I have user one, which is given a role customer. I have a user two who have been assigned to role customer. There's Nidhi who have been assigned to a support role. Arnav have been assigned to support and billing. And then we have TW-admin, which have been assigned to role admin. Now we also need to provide what roles have what permissions. So we have also provided a JSON for my role permissions, and the customer have read access on my service account. It have read access on payments and notifications and update on payments. The support person should have read access on accounts and payments, and update access on accounts. The policy that we have written previously will take care of whether that support person should be able to access the user or not. And then we have admin. This admin person over here can access anything, can read accounts, payment, notification, can update these services, can delete also. So if, let's say, if I go back and paste it over here, and if I try to evaluate it, so far I've not made any changes over here. I've not made any changes over here. And let me change the user to TW-admin. The allow is still coming out to be false because we have not written any policy over here. So now we have to write policy in order to check if that person is admin or not. So I'll go back to my Rego policy, and this is the rule which is responsible for allowing an admin or not. So I have returned my allow should be true by calling out this function in Rego. This is the function, you can just directly declare it over here and it can directly use this function. Now it will come back to this, go to this function. And I have imported the users from my external entity data.json, and this users over here will have all the data of my users. So whatever user I'm sending from my input will check about the roles. So we have directly declared this roles over here. So we are just going to check if it is admin or not. We have multiple roles, and we are going to check whether it is equals to admin or not. If it is equals to admin, allow it. If it is not equals to admin, just do not allow it. Let me copy paste it and evaluate it. This thing, save. Where is the underscore? Changed something. Oh, okay, sorry, I have not imported anything. So I have to import. Now I want to import. No, I don't need actually to import anything. users. Okay, I have to. Users. Then try to evaluate it. Now you can see, because I'm directly using the users, and in the data, I already have the users. I need to import it. I forgot to import it. So now you can see, like, I have declared my user to be tw-admin, and now the access, the roles that it has been assigned to equals to admin. In that case, I am allowing it. Again, going back to the another rule, there is one more rule, that is the finance person can view user's account and can read and update the payment details. So let me check in the database how many users have been assigned a role finance. So there is billing is equals to finance, and only Arnav have been assigned to finance. So let me change it to Arnav. Let me actually just check whether Arnav can access it or not. So I'll just put this data. So my user is going to be Arnav, my service is going to be payments, and I want to update it. So let's try to evaluate it. And I'm continuously selecting it and evaluating it. That's why it is giving me an error. So now you can see it's not been allowed. But even though in my database, I can see, like, in my billing rule, he or she have the access to update my payment services. So in that case, now I have to update my policy. Going back to my policy, this is policy which is responsible to making my role access to that particular service. So what I'll do is I will create another function, user is grant or not, and over here I've just declared a random variable grant which have no value. So this grant value will get value from this function only. So I have declared another variable called role, and I don't need to pass the role value to any of another functions. So that's why I'm not passing it over here. If I have to, I just put comma and then can send it over here. Grant, I have to use it over here. That's why I've been passing it from here. What I'll do is from the users, I'll calculate in each and every role of that user. And from that user, what I'll do is I'll go back to my role permission. If I'm going back to over here, role permission, I'll calculate each and every, all of these actions and services that belongs to that customer. Now I will check whether these grant have values what is given for active or not. So over here, I've passed action to update, and I'll check whether this user have permission to access the service or not using the same action and the service. So I'll just copy paste this and try to evaluate it. Again, one more thing I forgot is I also need to import my role permissions. And now I'll try to evaluate it, and you can see, like, Arnav now can access and update my payments. Let's say if Arnav tries to delete any payments, any details in payments. So if I do delete, you can see the allow is now set to false, because over in my database, billing doesn't have any permission to delete any information in my payments. So this is how, like, you can use RBAC. Similarly, you can also use ABAC. All you have to do is pass your attributes, data of your attributes, not of your roles. There is another use case of OPA. So far we have seen is, like, the output that we are getting is either true or false, allow or deny. That is like either that or that, 50% probability. Now data filtration with OPA will also give you data in return. For example, there is a support member who wants to view all the open tickets assigned to them. Now my OPA will not send a response in true or false. It will evaluate that data. It will query into that database and it will return the data, not true or false. So how we are going to use it? What we'll do is, let me just change my input dot, sorry, in my data filtering.json. This is again my database. It will have the same information that we have seen in the previous example. And this is what I want to check. For the support person Nidhi, I want to see all of the open tickets. So in that case, let me try to evaluate it. And You can see it is coming out to be false, and it is not giving me any of the details which any of the open tickets assigned to Nidhi. So in that case, I need to update my policy. And over here, this is responsible for giving the details. So this input method should be get, and my user is going to be of which I want to see the information of open tickets assigned to. And I'll just call this detail function. This detail function over here declared this user variable with no value, and not checking on anything and directly calling tickets user will give me all the details of my user, whether it is user 1 or user 2. What I want to put a condition. I don't want to see each and every user. I want to put a condition, and in that condition, what I will do is I will check whether this user assignee is equals to what I have been passing from the input. So if let's say I have a user 1, and if Nidhi have been assigned to it, it will return me true, otherwise it will return me false. And in case of no open tickets assigned to a person, it will just give me an empty result on details. So let me just copy paste it and try to evaluate it. So you can see the allow is true. Along with allow, it is also giving me details what I have mentioned over here. And you can see from the tickets, Nidhi have been assigned to user 1 and also to user 2. If I will change it back to enough and will check, it is only my user 1. What if I am changing it to the XYZ? Even let's assume like it's he or she have been authenticated. So my details is coming to be empty. Also, like it doesn't exist in my system, it is also giving me as false. So this is all about data filtration, that we are also giving data as an output, not just true or false, any binary number. Going back to other use cases, we have ABAC. I already talked about, like instead of roles, we can pass attributes, ACLs, like in case of restricting any networking securities, like we don't want this IP address to access, we can always associate, integrate my OPA with ACLs, then AWS IAM, WebAssembly, data protection, risk management, all of these are the use cases. Please go back and check it out, like how we can integrate OPA with my these use cases. So that is it from my side. And I'll hand it over to Animesh.